Hello, listeners, and welcome to Spooky Time with Mike and Mindy.
Hi guys, we're here today with our first movie review. We haven't watched the movie yet, but we will be watching The Silence, which is available on Netflix.
A Netflix original movie.
Yes, it came out on April 10th, and I've been wanting to watch this movie since I saw the trailer on April 10th, but
2019.
yeah, but Mike didn't really seem as interested, but I'm kind of forcing it this time.
Yeah, well, sometimes, good results come from that, so.
Yeah. But we just watched the trailer. So what did you think? What are your first initial thoughts about what we're gonna watch?
Oh, boy. I mean, I don't want to be rude, but I am the reluctant one, right?
Yeah.
So I reserve the right to have the movie win me over, so to speak. Mm-hmm. My first thought is this is the mockbuster version of A Quiet Place.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, playing off the idea, well, if you watch the trailer, the premise is creatures, sound, and what does that mean for survival of a family, and there's other humans, and so,
Right.
yeah.
Well, and so I didn't necessarily, love A Quiet Place. I thought it was good, but I'm not a monster person.
I shook my head.
I know he did. So I'm not a monster person, but I saw Stanley Tucci and I immediately was like, I'm in. Like, that sells me on any movie pretty much. If I see that he's in it, I'm like, this will be at least good enough.
It will be well acted.
Yeah.
Whether or not the story or the dialogue or the premise is good,
Yeah.
the acting
Yeah,
will be top notch.
I'm pretty much sold. And the idea I think is kind of ridiculous. Like the monster creatures that you kind of see in the trailer look, I don't know, to me like mini
reptilian bats or
They
something.
look to me like mini pterodactyls.
Could be.
I don't know. I don't know what's up with all these dinosaurs popping back up in movies. But
Yeah.
or maybe they just always are in movies. But
Referencing, Godzilla coming out
yeah.
later this month.
Yeah. So and then I also noticed
Which we'll review as well. What?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna watch Godzilla.
Oh, yeah.
But I noticed that the chick from Sabrina's in it, and I was like, okay, she's fine.
Oh, is she fine?
Well, no, I don't
Oh,
think
she
so.
fine.
Okay, I
Okay.
don't think so. I mean, is she...
No. You don't need to. You don't
Okay,
need,
I don't
yeah.
have to explain
No.
myself.
I was just making a joke. We don't have to actually explain that.
Okay.
Probably better if we don't. Okay.
But overall, I'm just really excited to see this cast because it looks like they picked up a lot of really great people to make this movie. So I think overall it'll be enjoyable for a quote free movie.
Included with price of service.
Yeah.
Well, and it also, obviously, and what is her name?
Oh,
Just right.
yeah.
Don't refer to as her character name, Sabrina from the show.
Kiernan Shipka.
Okay, so she's kind of on the rise and definitely on Netflix's payroll to begin with.
Right.
Stanley Tucci, of course, will be the prestige actor.
Well, and
gravitas.
Miranda Otto is also in it.
Oh, right.
So.
Yeah, so I mean, it's they have enough names to
make it work.
to get people watch.
Yeah.
To watch, yeah.
So let me read you the description. So, with the world under attack by deadly creatures who hunt by sound, a teen and her family seek refuge outside the city and encounter a mysterious cult.
Dun dun dun.
So I didn't...
Wait, they were a cult?
Right. So
Spoiler.
So I read the description before, and I was like, I'm going to wait to read this to Mike.
So
because
this is just Bird Box Redux with Okay.
Well, I'm just annoyed that it's a cult. But I guess
Right.
I don't know. So I'm interested to see
Why
how
are
they.
cults getting such a bad rap?
I don't know.
Kidding, by the way.
I don't know. I was not expecting it to be a cult. I was expecting them to just
I'm
be
gonna
some.
call you out a little bit.
Okay.
All right. So in the defense of this movie, that may actually help it for
Yeah.
you in your experience because we've talked about this before. But what scares you probably will make it a longer episode later. But there's a human element to this, right?
Yeah.
Not just a fantastical monster element.
Right.
So that might actually
Yeah,
heighten
for
the
sure.
stakes for you.
I'm more scared of humans and paranormal type things, not monsters. It's just not monsters don't get me. So I think that having a cult involved in the mix could make this a movie I actually enjoy. But we'll see.
We'll see if we enjoy it or not.
Yeah, so...
Okay. Do you think we've talked enough?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to
Sure.
mention really quick that this movie is rated TV 14. If you wanted to watch it on your own, I don't think it'll be very gory or anything then. It's an hour and 30 minutes, so it should be a quick watch. And it also, I wanted to point out, is directed by John R. Leonetti, who did Annabelle. So I think there's going to be a lot of jump scares in this. Not necessarily the best story, but still scary, at least the first time through.
It seems like they won't be able to try and scare you with suspense or mystery because they've given you it all up front
Right.
in the trailers and the
And the
description.
description.
So yeah, it's probably going to rely... initial impressions are they're going to rely on jump scares
Yeah.
since they're already giving you the premise.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to go watch it and we'll be back. And just know that the second half then will probably have spoilers. So if it's something you want to watch, stop listening to this podcast, come back to it later. So yeah, we'll check back in with you later, ghoulies. All right, so we had lunch, we took out the recycling, and then we watched The Silence on Netflix.
Yes, we did.
What are your initial thoughts, spoiler free at first, on this movie?
It was a movie.
I don't even know if I can give it that.
No. It was a movie. I would say I wouldn't necessarily classify it as a scary movie. It was like a drama with a horror element rather than being like a scary movie.
But with like little to no character development and barely a story and no real background on most everything that happened.
Yeah. I would definitely say that there was not character development. Everyone stayed pretty one-dimensional.
And there was no background on a lot of stuff given.
Kind of, but you would think that. So this is one of those movies where it's not multiple days or multiple time frames worth. It's like the events of like a day and a half, right? So in those types of movies, I get it. They're a bit more crunched for time, so you don't necessarily get huge developments and big character arcs, but at the same time too, typically for stories, don't you want to show a little bit of character growth?
Yeah, and I feel like they did try to give a little bit of background through social media that they utilized through parts of it.
Right.
But it was so quick and not really discussed or anything that it just kind of was like you knew kind of what was happening.
Small tidbits.
Yeah.
I will say this, though, in its defense. I felt as if we knew as much as they knew.
Sure.
So I think, like, sometimes we're used to being that third-party omniscient, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know everything,
Yeah.
even though they don't know things. So I feel we were as out of the loop as probably they would have been, worrying about their survival and not necessarily what's the biological composition of these things.
Sure, but I definitely wasn't on the edge of my seat. I wasn't scared or nervous. I don't think I even had a single jump reaction because it was all very...
Yeah. I agree. I would definitely, again, I would classify it as a drama with a horror aspect. I would not classify it as a scary movie or a horror movie or anything of that sort. It was just a drama and this fantastical, element to the story.
All right, so I have a question for you, but it kind of goes into like the beginning of the story then and stuff. So spoilers.
We're transitioning now.
Yeah.
Got it.
So it pretty much showed that these monsters came from the depths, and immediately I thought,
yes,
this is The Descent, and
Descent
Mike
with
is
wings.
Gonna be horrified. So how did you feel initially when they started cracking into the caves in like Pennsylvania?
I mean, it made sense. I wasn't too worried because I knew they weren't going to be down there. The things were coming out. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
Not the same. And it's not even really claustrophobia, I think I have.
No, yeah.
But like with Descent, it's very much like there's no way out. Not like the
Sure.
walls are closing in around you, but like there's just no way out.
Yeah.
So from this aspect, yeah, there was Descent vibes, but they ended pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So one thing that I thought about was, they're ravenous. There's so many of them. What did they eat?
Right. Well, and I wrote that down because that's something you mentioned. You were like, what are they eating? How are there so many of them? How is there such a large population?
What did they eat? Like, what's the renewable resource or food that they continuously can just be so crazy about eating?
Well, I think that they're crazy about eating because they're clearly starving then, but I guess the question, they must be surviving. They must have been a set amount because one thing that they did show throughout the movie, and I think it's probably the only scene that might stick with me throughout my life, but I kind of doubt it. I'll probably forget it, was that you saw these creatures actually putting eggs into bodies as hosts for their babies, which is a whole other weird thing that Mike is making faces about. So he must be mad about it.
No. That was a creep factor, but why introduce it?
And then do nothing
They
with
did
it.
nothing
They
with it.
did nothing with it.
So they introduced it just to be like, oh, this is extra creepy.
Well, and
it's creepy.
I think
they lay eggs in you. Oh my god.
I think it added a bit more to our questions of what are these creatures, what are they doing? They clearly got out and now they can repopulate because they do have a vast food source, which is humans or animals or anything really. It seemed like they would just eat people in general and then put babies in their bodies. So tell me what you thought about the way the creatures looked.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, let me tell you what I thought.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought they were cute in a really weird, disturbing way. And I made some notes of things that they reminded me of. Okay, ready? So mermaids from Harry Potter mixed with pterodactyls mixed with, is it Cabal that has the teeth in Mortal Kombat?
That would be Baraka.
Baraka. I always mix them up. Okay, those two. But yeah, so it is mermaids, pterodactyl, Baraka combined.
I would say flying, reptilian, blind, very small creature.
Yeah.
We're talking wingspan of less than 2 feet.
They're very small.
Right
They're like tiny little pterodactyls that are attacking people.
Right, except without a beak, they just have tons of teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's more intimidating and scary.
Yeah.
So clearly they were designed to be scary and to be a bit more alien and something that we aren't used to seeing or something more foreign.
Oh yeah, and it's something I would definitely be scared of if I saw it in real life, but in a movie it just falls so flat for me.
Yeah, well, and so like my first impressions were mockbuster of Quiet Place, and like some scenes and aspects of it were like straight up lifted from that movie.
Well,
like the way that they would like stop and then they would like change their posturing to hear a little better and hear more finely, which was 100% in A Quiet Place, where they would stop and then they'd really open up their ear holes and listen very well.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you. Okay, so I put down, what do you like about the movie? Because I wanted to give it a compliment first.
Oh, no, yeah. I already did. But
no,
yeah.
So, but I can say now that I appreciate what A Quiet Place was a million times more than I did before. Because I was...
So your compliment for this movie is to compliment the
Yes. Because I initially was like, A Quiet Place. I still kind of feel that way. And I probably will feel that way about most monster movies we talk about. But I was like, this movie just sucks compared to A Quiet Place. And... but one thing that reminded me a lot too, like you were saying, there were a lot of elements that seemed lifted out of that movie. And there was a part where Stanley Tucci turns on this wood chipper to bring in all of these creatures and chop them up, which was literally the best scene. So maybe that scene will stick with me because that was awesome.
That was the best scene.
That was the best scene.
That definitely needed to happen. I was really pleased with that.
And I was like, oh my God, this is the only redeeming thing in this movie. I liked that part so much. Do you have any other like parts of the movie that you like? I mean, I did a bad job complimenting this movie.
Well, I think if we're going into details, let's just call out the fact that the daughter was deaf.
Yes.
That was another part, like, straight up lift from Quiet Place, having a deaf daughter in the mix. So, I think if I was younger, you know, like if I was teen age,
if you were 14, what this is rated for?
Yeah, then, right. If I had followed the ratings, then I think it definitely would have, like, creeped me out a bit, you know. And it's interesting, too, you know, being in our 30s, like, you know, obviously the daughter is like the main-ish character, right? Like, it's supposed to be around her and her interactions and, you know, social media and technology and cell phones play such an important part, you know, in kids' lives these days. And so I have to think, like, if I were a kid nowadays, right? I think it would hit the mark, honestly. Like, I feel like that's what they designed it for. You know,
Sure.
Netflix made this movie not for us or for people that are really used to, like, scary movies. I mean, this was definitely designed to be, like, a quick, you know, creepy...
You're 14, sleeping over at a friend's
14-year-old
house,
at a
having
sleepover
pizza. The
with
parents are still
sleeping
awake, so
bags
you
and-
have to watch like a not as scary movie kind of thing.
But until they go to bed and then you bust out Exorcist.
Well, then you
Yeah.
then you watch
Right.
the real ones.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
this definitely feels like a teeny popper, or like
yeah, but still just not a great one though,
or like
because we watched those ones too, and yeah, what?
I was gonna say, or like a Netflix and chill movie, you know.
Oh my God!
Something that you have on, and then like, you know,
I mean,
they just
nothing
get so
happens in
bored,
it.
and
It's
then
so quiet.
well, and that was an aspect too that I wasn't prepared for. So since the daughter is deaf, halfway through the movie, it goes to subtitles. Mm-hmm. So, FYI.
Yeah.
I think it was, honestly, I think for what it was, I think it was fine. I don't want to, like, crap over the whole thing. I think it was adequate. Like, it got there for what it was supposed to be, which is a Netflix original movie for, like, you know, teens. Sure. I think it was fine.
Well, I still want to talk about...
yeah.
So there was one scene that I feel like they used just to, like, make mothers get upset and scared. And so there was this subway scene where there's a baby starting to cry and like the subway is down and like it's filled with all these people, right? Then this guy tries to take this woman's baby and then the woman's crying, and she's like, no, I'll go out there with them. And then you just like, you see this woman go out into the tunnels knowing that she's just going to die. All these people staring out the windows at her. I just thought that was such a cheap way to try to get people scared and upset, and like I don't know, it bothered me, but
I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't work in the way I think they were intending for me, because I saw through their ploys, you know.
Yeah. Volcano did it better. Volcano did it way better.
I don't know what that is.
It's like a late 90s you know,
you're using your voice on me.
A late 90s blockbuster with Tommy Lee Jones. There was a subway scene. That was more of an emotional scene that I think this one was.
Well, I think they were just trying to show how intense the situation was, like what lengths people were willing to go to try and survive, which I understood that point, but I just feel like...
again... Lifted from A Quiet Place, babies are a liability.
Okay,
when your enemy hears sound, right? Yeah. I mean, so again...
Yeah, I mean, you always know that that's going to be a bad time in a scary movie when that's happening.
No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was, again, another similarity I noticed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something else I didn't like was... So in the description, they were talking about a cult, and so I expected that to be at least a prominent feature enough.
And they introduced it 2/3 into the movie.
Yeah, it's
and
literally
it was
like an hour
10 minutes of plot.
And like literally all that happens is this guy shows up at like their place that they took from this old lady on accident and is like, hey, your daughter's fertile. And we're like, what is happening? That was so awkward.
Making a gross face right now.
Yeah, and like there was nothing established in this cult or anything. Like we didn't really know who they were, what they were doing. There was some social media things that passed by about like atheists burning and like I don't really
crucified
know.
a guy. So
yeah,
they tried to make it seem like
the
religion went off the rails,
but it really didn't seem that way.
Yeah, right. They tried to like drop hints of this earlier in, except it didn't.
It fell flat.
Yeah, it didn't really
didn't
come
happen.
through.
There wasn't enough development for that aspect.
And like, you know, talk about cheap things.
Yeah, all of it.
No, like
other than the salaries for these people.
No, you know, you were saying like the cheapness of the subway scene, you know, to get moms upset.
Yeah.
Well, same thing too. Get parents upset, like your daughter's fertile.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even talk about like, oh, we're going to repopulate the world or nothing. They didn't say stuff about that. They said nothing about that. So, you know, why bring that in other than to like escalate the scale?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The whole thing just seemed cheap and
it was a cheap
empty
imitation.
And
you know, and here's another thing.
I loved all the people in it though.
No. I think they, and like I said, my first impressions were they'll act really well in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
I feel like that's what we watched. But I will say this, that like as far as Netflix goes and Netflix original content goes, like they do good stuff.
They do.
Like they can definitely do good stuff. And I think this is one where they thought, well, we have to produce a product.
Yeah.
Right? We have to make things.
Yeah.
So this is a thing we're going to make. And we're not necessarily going to do a great job for it because we don't have the budget for it.
Right.
So kind of like you get what you pay for. Like we're going to invest this amount of money and we're going to get a thing that we'll get a return on that's pretty much
Yeah, I mean, we watched
similar.
it, you know. So
for sure. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I do want to say that this movie did make me think, though, about how people just, in these situations, when things are, like, hitting the fan, they forget about just basic things that could really hurt you. So Aiden from Sex and the City, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, his real name. He's
Carrie
in it.
Bradshaw's love interest.
Yeah, he's, well, briefly. But he's in it as like their uncle, and he's driving and ends up dying in this car crash and getting eaten and whatever. But he goes off the road because there's just a bunch of deer, you know? And like he just, you know, you're driving, you forget that there could be creatures in the woods. And there was a part 2 where this boy's going through the tunnel. There's just a snake, a rattlesnake. Like, if you're bit by something.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying,
okay.
people seem to forget.
The deer makes sense, right?
The deer
like,
makes sense.
Deer cross the
I'm
road.
not saying it did not
no.
make
I'm just
sense.
saying, like, the deer cross... No. I'm not going against you. I'm going against the movie now. Like, I'm directing my...
Okay, and then we could talk about the babies,
right.
too, and how much you hate that.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
No, but, like, the deer crossing the road, definitely. You're right. Like, and that was another... Again, I feel like... elements of Descent, right? Because at the start of the Descent, they're driving, and then there's this, you know, thing in the middle of the road, and then like, boom.
Yeah, same with Get Out. All of a sudden, they hit a deer.
Right. So here, it's like they're driving, and he's like, ho, banter, deer off the road.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that definitely happens. And I do appreciate that they did that, rather than like these creatures run them off the road. Fine.
Yeah.
But again, they had like a family of deer.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a single deer. There's like 20,000
Oh,
deer.
yeah. It was like a herd of deer.
A herd of deer were just like in front of them. And I'm like...
Are deer is it deer herds? I don't know. I'm going to look it up. Keep talking.
Yeah, you look that up. What was the other thing I was going to talk about?
How the babies are in the... Or no, the snake in the tunnel.
That's it. The snake in the tunnel. The snake, you know, because snakes definitely reside in like waste pipes. And not only that, but they definitely live under piles of mud. They live under piles of mud, and they won't come out until you knock the pile of mud over, and then they come out of it.
I was gonna say maybe it's hot because they're like cold-blooded. So,
Yes.
but they were clearly not in hot weather. throughout most of this
No.
movie. It was like fall time,
'cause-
and they were in New
right.
Jersey,
Yup.
going north. Really quick, a group of deer is called a herd, so I was correct. I just wanted to make sure I was right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was something too. Like, there's this snake, and it's just like, it's a thing that created tension.
Well, and
right?
nothing even happened with the snake. It was rattling, so that drew the sound,
Right.
and the creatures came.
Right.
Then.
So, I mean, it was a reason why a thing escalated and
Yeah.
the mom got injured, but it's like, why was it a snake? Why did it have to be a snake? And, like, why was the snake in a pile of mud? Do snakes usually reside in piles of
I
mud?
think that they will.
Okay.
I don't know. Are rattlesnakes common in New Jersey?
I
That's
think
where
we're
they
getting
were.
really specific right now.
Yeah. Okay.
But okay,
We're
no,
picking apart
like both
this
of
part
us,
the
both
movie.
of us. Yeah, we shouldn't nitpick. No, movies are going to be movies. You don't need to nitpick them. I mean, it's
Yeah.
totally
I mean, we
fine.
watch them to enjoy them. For the most part, we don't really think while we watch movies, which always makes us like them more. But with this
I'm
one,
so glad you said that because
Yeah.
we're not the type that just like we're hypercritical of everything we see, right? And
Yeah.
like you're not getting a good sense of that from this.
yeah,
But-
it was just so easy to think during this movie because
Because it
nothing was
didn't-
happening.
Right, it didn't keep you. It didn't like hold you in suspense. It wasn't like, "Oh my god, what's going to happen next? What's going on?" It was kind of like quiet, but then it kept moving, but it wasn't suspenseful. So like one thing I'll say about Quiet Place is like it was suspenseful and they played music.
Mm-hmm.
Like they used music to heighten the tension for you
There
that
was, like-
you could hear, but
Yeah.
they couldn't, obviously. But they didn't do that with this movie.
Yeah, there was like no music.
no music to heighten the tension for you, the viewer.
Right. It was very empty feeling when you were watching it.
Right.
Really quick, I looked this up because I wanted to see if rattlesnakes are in New Jersey.
Folks, we're about to learn your one thing
Yes.
for the day.
So there are timber rattlesnakes in New Jersey. They're protected under the New Jersey Endangered Species Act.
Do they live in dirt?
There are pictures of them in like dirt and stuff. So yeah, I would.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Hey,
In woods,
New
in
Jersey folks,
leaves.
I've
Yeah.
learned.
Yeah, I mean, we've all learned right now. Who knew? I had no idea that there were endangered rattlesnakes in New Jersey, but now I know. I always picture them in like the desert or something, which maybe they don't even live in the desert.
I think some do.
Well, whatever. Okay, so what are your final thoughts on the movie? Would you recommend it? Anything else you want to say?
I mean, I might recommend it for people that don't really like scary movies.
It's not gory or anything either.
Well, right. So like, I would call it. I hate to say it, but like a light watch. Like, I would call it like something you could have on, and like, you could say, "Oh, I watched something," but you don't have to like. It's not gonna traumatize you. That's the word I'm looking
Sure.
for. Like, I've watched some scary movies that definitely like traumatize you, and they stick with you for a long time in your brain, and they live out their own separate horror fantasies in your mind. This is not one of those movies.
Yeah.
This is one where you watch it, and when it's done, you don't think about it again. So if you're looking for just something to have on, something a little bit kind of spooky, maybe creepy to watch, I think it's fine. But if you're setting your expectations for like something scary or anything like that, I think you'll be disappointed. So I don't want to say it's not worth a watch. Just know what you're getting in for.
Sure. Well, I'm going to say it. It's not worth your time. It's just not. It wasn't good. Unless you're like a really big fan of any of the actors, or like Mike said, you're like at a slumber party and you're 14 and you want the parents to think you guys are watching things that are okay to watch. This is the movie for you. Otherwise, I would just not even bother. So I hate to say it because I was like, this will be great. Stanley Tucci's in it. Like they got all these people. It's just not worth it.
That's fine. No, that's fine. And I mean, largely, I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah.
I was just trying to give it benefit of the doubt.
Sure,
but
yeah.
But I wouldn't. I mean, there were some redeeming aspects of it, but I mean, I wouldn't watch it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. That's our first movie review.
Woo.
Yeah. So hopefully you liked that enough. But
Also, too, don't forget to follow us, like us, and subscribe. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Podbean with an N. Maybe iTunes soon.
yeah, we'll keep you posted on that.
Spooky Time with Mike and Mindy.
Yep.
Am I missing anything about?
No,
Those are the things. Okay.
Those are the things.
Those are the things.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
All right. Stay spooky, witches.
Stay spooky, witches. All right. Bye.
Bye.